So here's my story. This is what happened. I am deciding to take a couple of days off. We're going to visit with some friends. We're not going to turn on the news. We're not going to pay any attention to anything. We're going to completely decompress. And so we spend some time in the pool, and we spend some time having dinner and lively conversation, and everything is very nice. And I come back only to find that the biggest news in Star Trek has taken place. So we'll talk about it after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and before we get started on the big news of the day, I would like to appeal to you to subscribe. If you watch these videos, even just one, why not just click the subscription button. It's just down there. At the end of this video, there's also the ON logo that appears at the same time as the suggested topics. And if you click on that, that will also subscribe you. And if you ring the bell as well, or you don't have to ring it, but you click on the bell, and that will make sure that you see the next video that comes up. Our subscriptions are a little low from what I would like, and so if you can help me bring that up, that would be a great thing. It would mean everything to us. So please do that and help us grow this channel. Help me work harder for you in order to keep these things coming your way. So I had about 4 different ideas after this weekend to come up with things for the next video, and then I saw the news. Patrick Stewart made a surprise visit to the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. And when he took the stage, he basically said that he had done some negotiation. Now, before we get there, let's say this. This is something that has been rumored for months. We have, in the middle of the summer, I think we did a video about an off-the-cuff remark that Patrick Stewart made, saying that he might be paying more attention to the Star Trek universe starting about now. And we and others had theorized that there was going to be some role for him either in Star Trek Discovery or in the Orville, probably playing another character or a relative of Picard or who knows what. But we were told that Patrick Stewart was talking about getting back into science fiction television. And so there were a lot of people, including myself, speculating about what he might do, and a lot of people that dusted it all off, saying he was just making a remark. He had friends of his that are going to be on these shows. Jonathan Frakes, for instance, is going to be directing episodes of The Orville and of Discovery. We have Marina Sirtis, who we found out just recently is going to be on The Orville this season. We have other people from the Star Trek universe he no doubt has worked with that are appearing in either The Orville or Discovery. So that was written off to a great deal. Fast forward a few weeks, and the producers of Star Trek Discovery are fired by CBS because of difficulties that they were having in communicating with their writing staff and such as that, not creating the greatest atmosphere to work in. And so they put Alex Kurtzman, who had been the executive producer, to be the main showrunner. And in addition to doing this, they also signed him to a longer-term contract, CBS did, and they said he would be doing 4 more shows, not only Discovery, but also a cartoon series, a series about Khan, a series featuring Patrick Stewart and or Picard, and one they're not talking about. And so there was some theories going around. What would Patrick Stewart do? Would he play himself in a cartoon and continue Next Generation in a cartoon, because it was 20 years since the last movie was made, and therefore he's aged 20 years. He can't just go right back to the last episode of The Next Generation and say, okay, I'm still here. I mean, they tried that with William Shatner in Star Trek the Motion Picture. They said, oh, you've been away for 5 years, when it actually had been a lot longer than that. And it wasn't fooling anybody. And nobody ages so gracefully that you could get away with something like that, really. So there was speculation as to what it would be, but we've pretty much dusted it to the back burner because it could or could not happen depending on how the rumors work out. So how surprised are we when Patrick Stewart takes the stage at Las Vegas Star Trek convention on Saturday and says, I went into negotiations with Alex Kurtzman. And he said, I was invited in. I thought I would do the gentlemanly thing and listen to his offer and be prepared to say, no, I don't want to do this. I've seen the last of Picard. We had a full story of him during Star Trek The Next Generation, during the 4 movies that they have made. And all of these things have pretty much made Picard's life, and there's no more stories to tell about it. I'm not interested in doing it. He had also said in previous interviews years ago that he would probably never return to Star Trek unless it was just an incredible idea that he just couldn't refuse. So we bring you to Saturday when he talks about his reasons for accepting the offer. And he points out, and there's a tweet about it too, but here, he was impressed by the number of lives that his performance as Picard influenced in exploration, in science, in leadership, in diplomacy, and thought that perhaps this is the right time to bring somebody like Picard back. The influence that he could have on people, positive influence, especially in what he called these dark times. With that said, he is coming back, and what they're going to do is go 20 years into the future, in which Picard's story continues, not necessarily as Captain of the Enterprise, not necessarily as Starfleet. Obviously, however, since it is Star Trek, there is going to be some Federation Starfleet connection. And we could only venture a guess at this point as to whether he's been promoted to admiral, whether he has a different ship, whether he is a ambassador, whether he is, what role he would play, and what type of stories they would write for him. Now, he said there have been no scripts. They have been tossing around story ideas, but he's very excited about it. So what we can put together from this is that there is going to be a considerable evolution of his character, in which he has grown older and wiser and has different experiences and now has some other aspect of the character to show us. And in doing so, that could be something really very, very good. Obviously, the character of Picard is not going to be the gunslinger type of captains that we're seeing in more recent series. So if you're not a fan of Discovery, it's likely you might be a fan of this. In fact, the whole idea of Picard has always been diplomacy and understanding the importance of rules like the Prime Directive. In previous Trek shows, anytime they mentioned the Prime Directive, that you knew they were going to break it. In Picard's day, when he mentioned the Prime Directive, it was always accompanied by, this is why we have it. This is why it's important. This is why our civilization depends on our sticking to a set of ideals. And I think that set of ideals has influenced so many people, and he's heard from so many people whose lives have been influenced and changed and made for the better for a character on a television show. There's not very many actors that can say that. And so he's moved to come back and reprise a role that everybody loved. And we can't wait to see what he comes up with. So with that said, I'd like to hear your reaction. Please let me know in the comments, and Until then, don't go far.